Welcome to the Habits of Health Power half hour, where we go through Dr. A's Habits of Health one section at a time so that you can create a powerful knowledge base that will equip you for your journey into optimal health and lifelong well-being. My name is Cassondra Reagan, and I am an independent Optavia coach. Today, we continue on with section 1.6, You in Charge of Yourself, Setting Up for Success. So last week, we discussed this idea of present self versus future self, where our present self values the right now when it comes to needs, choices, immediate actions. The present self is highly influenced by impulses, urges, and just pleasure-seeking reward type behaviors. The future self, however, is the person you plan on being tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. That person will be the sum of all the choices made in the here and now. So that future person may need you to delay pleasure-seeking impulses and behaviors so that they can become. Remember how Dr. A depicts a study done on a selection of patients where he performed an imaging test on their brains while asking them to picture in their minds three different people: their self, a stranger, and themselves in the future. The brain activity for a majority of participants in the study when they imagined their future selves was identical to the brain activity they experienced when they imagined a stranger. Only a very small portion of participants had brain activity that registered their future selves as the same as their current selves. The powerful information we gathered from this study observation was that those patients who could not identify with their future selves, they were more likely to struggle with delayed gratification. They were more likely to have poor habits and have more difficulty saving money and dealing with all the challenges of modern life. Psychologists call this phenomena temporal discounting, and it explains the tendency of our ancient brain, as Dr. A calls it, to value immediate reward. This is why it's so easy to get hooked on bad habits. And how many of us know right when we are using that ancient brain, right? Holiday dinners, you know that ancient brain is up and running. So how can we overcome a natural tendency to discount the value of long-term health in order to help you avoid those daily temptations, which, by the way, aren't ever going away? They are here to stay. You will always encounter them. So how do we do that? Simple. We give our present self what it wants. What are you talking about, Cassondra? I thought we wanted to move away from immediate reward. Look, if our present self demands to be satisfied, but we are determined to move into our future self who is beckoning us to come meet him or her, then we will have to tie a future benefit into our present moment. We will have to both design immediate rewards into our habits of health, which we know are designed to create long-term health. And we will also have to make certain immediate gratification is less attractive by adding a negative aspect that will help us be less likely to repeat that behavior in the future. So, for example, we know that 20 minutes of activity provides long-term benefits by reducing the risk of disease, and also it just helps us live longer. We also know that studies have shown that 20 minutes of activity have an immediate effect of boosting our mood for 12 hours. They've proven it, it's fact. When you exercise, there's an immediate boost to your mental health for that next 12 hours. We can now connect a long-term benefit to an immediate reward and establish a recipe for a new healthy habit installation. This also actually works for eliminating an unwanted habit. For example, we know that eating a cheeseburger and fries is a habit of disease, and it will create disease in the future. By the way, this is not up for debate. It is a habit of disease, okay? We're not even talking about moderation here. It is what it is. We also know that after consuming fast food, we develop a high-fat hangover that ruins how we feel and can affect our mental health. So tying that short-term negative consequence to, or present effect, by the way, on us to the long-term negative effect, it gives us a powerful reason to discontinue that negative behavior. We can also make the long-term consequences of not doing a behavior more immediate by tying those consequences to immediate discomfort. So let me explain. For example, you may commit to a friend to run with them every single morning. When the morning comes, that discomfort of disappointing them or letting them down ties that routine to an immediate response, the response of you just getting up and just doing the darn thing. This is also why accountability is so critical. Okay, you want to avoid disappointment, you want to avoid letting someone down. The avoidance of that pain causes you to get up and just do it. This also addresses another of the most limiting factors of our present self that prevents us from starting new habits. And you know what it is: procrastination. Look, we all procrastinate, and we know the shame and guilt and anxiety of putting off the action is actually, it's just way more painful than just doing the activity itself. But Dr. A says we can actually overcome procrastination by doing something called temptation bundling. It's very similar to something called habit stacking, if you've heard that before. But this is connecting things you love to do with things you have a tendency to avoid, but they're actually important to your health and well-being. So an example of temptation bundling would be deciding you will only watch your favorite TV show while you are working out. And finally, another way to connect our present future selves is through something called commitment devices. So I just mentioned something called temptation bundling. Now I'm talking about something called commitment devices. These are a way to predetermine our future behavior by controlling and designing the conditions. This is you taking control of your future decision before you even arrive at that future moment, using predetermined meal sizes by purchasing portion-controlled packaged foods or measuring out the exact amount of plan-approved almonds and putting them in a baggie for work rather than bringing that whole big bag that you know you're going to just blow right through. These are all examples of commitment devices. Also, having someone hide the TV remote to prevent mindless couch potato behavior. This is another example. So in this way, you modify your environment and create a health bubble that will insulate you against yourself and your mindless instant gratification brain. It's you deciding to take control of your environment before you even enter that situation. We're going to spend more time later on the many ways we can modify our environment to influence our present behavior and satisfy that crazy immediate gratification brain. And this is all really just about increasing our ability to move into that future person we will become by making it easier to move into action, despite the fact that our motivation may either be really high one day or super low just on any given day. Remember, the easier we make an action, the more likely it becomes automated. And tying instant reward to a habit makes it more appealing and therefore easier. It helps us overcome the resistance we face when installing new habits. So this coming week, I really want you to examine all the different tools we just discussed today. One, bringing an immediate reward to a behavior for long-term benefit. And two, maybe even tying a short-term negative effect to help us avoid a long-term negative consequence. Also, review both temptation bundling and commitment devices to see how you can maybe implement these into your daily lives. Well, that's it for today, my friends. Next week, we continue on with section 1.6, probably pages 128 through 131. So have an incredibly blessed week, and I'll see you next time.